Welcome to Behave Yourself, the podcast that aims to bring the science of human behavior and how you can apply it to your own life and become the happiest, healthiest, and most successful version of you.
We're two behaviour analysts with backgrounds in personal training and nutrition who've struggled in the past with confidence, weight loss, breaking promises to ourselves, and constantly trying the quick fixes.
We bring the science and show you how to apply it confidently and consistently towards your own goals and how to actually create a lifestyle change.
Behaviour analysis is the science of human behaviour, and we all engage in behaviours that either move us towards the direction of our goals or hold us back from living the life we desire.
I'm one of your hosts, Emily McCrae.
And I'm your other host, Jo Wesley.
Hello, everyone. How are you, Jo?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited. We just chatted about me and who I am. And so I'm so excited to ask you some questions, get to know you. As we said in the last episode, we actually kind of committed to this podcasting thing before we even really knew about each other and still learning about each other. So today I'm going to interview Jo and help
Thank God I quite like you.
Get everyone to know you and help me get to know you a little better as well. So, Where do you live? Who do you live with? When I answered this, I was very, I don't know. So you probably have a much more eloquent answer than myself.
No, that's cool. So I live in London in the UK. I live in fairly central London. So during our podcasts, if it ever sounds like I've got a train going over my house, it's because I've got a train going over my house. So I live in Zone 2 London with my husband, Jim. We've been married just over a year, together 3 years. So yeah, that's who I live with. What else? I work primarily within ABA for autism and do ABA for health as a secondary job. I don't want to call it a hobby. It's not a hobby. It is a secondary job. And yeah, that's me.
What are some of your hobbies that you have that are not work? Because you do a lot of work on different committees for your job. What do you do for hobbies? What are your things that you enjoy that are not work related or ABA related?
So this is, I guess, one of my podcasting is at the moment one of my hobbies. And eventually I'd like it to become more than that. But for now, it's a hobby. I am obsessed with all things cooking and baking and food. I love food. So if you were ever on my Instagram, you will see my weekends are primarily taken up with making beautiful food. And that's been from a very young age. Like I've always loved cooking. My parents encouraged me and my brother to, I think from like maybe even the age of 7 or 8, we were encouraged to make a family meal once a week, and we'd be given we would be allowed to give my parents a shopping list of ingredients we needed. We'd be told to go and research it in a cookbook and give them a list of ingredients. And maybe sometimes it'd be a disaster. I think one of the memories that goes down in history in my family is where I'd obviously learned how to double a recipe, and I obviously didn't think this recipe would be enough. So I decided to make chocolate mousse for the family. And they must have doubled the recipe or something went wrong with the recipe, and everybody got a soup bowl full of chocolate mousse. And my family are big foodies and we really like our sweet things. And everyone was like, this is a problem, but also it's not a problem. So we had a soup bowl full of chocolate mousse each. So yeah, definitely baking. I'm quite arty and crafty. I'm not a personal trainer like Emily is. Nutrition is more my thing, but I exercise on the regular. I like moving my body just because it feels good to me. That's one of the trains going over my head. What else? I think that's pretty much me. I think that's all I have time for, along with work. And as you said, I'm on a few different, I'm on the board of the UK SBA, which is the UK Society for Behaviour Analysts, which eventually the board is hoping will become what the BACB is at the moment for the US, because we all know that soon the BACB will change their international focus. So that is a lot of work outside of my daily kind of paid job.
Awesome. Yeah, you have a lot going on. So you're always walking. So walking is what I always see you doing and chatting, but the cooking, what is your favorite thing to cook? What's your favorite meal?
That's not possible. So I think
Not possible. No.
no, because that would mean that I like cooking the same thing on the regular, and I definitely
Mm.
don't. It's all about trying new things, experimenting. I don't really use recipes nowadays. I know how to throw things together. So I guess what I'm good at is what my sister-in-law would delightfully call a fridge forage. Just go into the fridge, see what's there, and create something delightful with it. She's actually a trained chef, so she is much better than I am. She's much more of a foodie, but yeah, anything. And in summer, it will be more salady, light things. In winter, it will be more soup and stews and warming things. Baking. My brother would say that my best thing to bake is chocolate brownies because that's his favorite. But yeah, all things food.
How is your brother, older or younger?
He's 3 years older.
Mm.
Yeah, he's
I wish
a.
I had an older sibling.
It's nice actually. He's been with his wife since they were 18 and I was 15. So my sister-in-law is as much of a sister as he is a brother, and we're very close, and they are a delight. And they have 2 small boys who are just delicious.
Oh, that's so fun. So you're an aunt as well.
I am.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah.
So I have to say one thing about your food. You always make it like it's so simple. It's so simple to like pop together your soups, and then you shared the parsnips, and it's super simple again. So I'm going to try that. Joe is helping me, and I think everyone else learn that preparing healthy food is simple. What do you do? So you talked about your coaching, nutrition coaching, which is your secondary job. What do you do for your clients within that realm of nutrition coaching?
So typically they've come through me through word of mouth, and I guess that's why and how I got started, in that I have a long history of getting to where I've got health wise, and my friends and family know this. And they would say things like, oh, I've got the genes for a big bum, or I just can't do X, Y, or Z. And I would sit there quietly, but with a slight raised eyebrow, like, it's not true, but keep telling yourself that. And then, not as arrogant as that, but then would make helpful suggestions like, oh, have you tried X, Y, or Z? Or maybe you could try this. And obviously, as a behavior analyst, we are problem solvers, we are fixers. So if someone said like, oh, I just can't do this or that, I can't get up out of bed on time, I'd say like, oh, have you tried putting your phone in the living room so you have to physically get out of bed to turn it off? Or like, oh, it's not brain science, it's just common sense. ABA, people who do ABA just make the science out of common sense.
Mhm.
And so I got known for that within friends and family. And then at some point, friends and family were like, you should do this properly. So then I went to study nutrition and started doing it more, and not just weight loss, which was my initial goal, but applying it to all sorts of different areas of health, whether it's quitting smoking or getting blood sugars under better control or whatnot. So yeah, clients come to me, they tend to have fairly singular goals when they come to me of, I just want to lose a bit of weight, and I'll help them not force different goals upon them, but maybe get them to think outside of their singular goals of, but why do you want to lose weight? And if you do want to lose weight, that's fine. But like, I feel like a 2-year-old sometimes, like, but why? But why? Like, what will that mean for you? You'll lose weight, and then what? Because if your only goal is to lose weight, if you're any good at your goal, you will hit your goal. And then what? If you're any good at losing weight, you can't do it forever. It's a dead man behavior. Dead men can lose weight, but you will eventually hit that goal and then have nowhere to go with it. So maybe you want to lose weight so that you can, like your client can run around after their grandchild, or you want to, I don't know, I can't think of an example at the top of my head, but get them to think of more the global picture around what their goals are, and then define behaviors that will help them work towards them, and then support them in that. Because as we know, accountability is a huge element of behavior change.
Awesome. I love what you do. So, how did you get into the world of ABA? How did you find behavior analysis and where you are at currently?
I think like most of us, by complete accident. And I kind of went into it kicking and screaming because I didn't like children, which sounds awful to say, but I worked within the NHS, or the National Health Service, which is our government funded health service over here. And I used to work as a assistant clinical psychologist, which you have to do for a number of years while studying to eventually become a clinical psychologist, which was my goal. But to get accepted onto the clinical psychology PhD, it's quite tricky. It's very competitive, and it just wasn't looking like it would ever happen for me. They were looking for certain things I just couldn't give. I might get in trouble for saying this, but they knew, for example, and I was told this outright, that their current population within clinical psychologists were white, middle class, middle-aged, able-bodied, and female. And I would have been, by the time of qualifying, all of those things. And so maybe that wasn't going to be the role for me, which is fine. And so a colleague from university had gone into ABA, and she said, oh, why don't you try this to get some different experience within psychology, and maybe you'll reconsider and want to become an educational psychologist or a different kind of psychologist. And so I thought, like, oh, okay, I'll do it for a year. And I'd actually had a bit of a break from psychology. I'd gone and worked for a recruitment consultancy because I couldn't get a job in psychology. And I hated every minute of it. I don't like picking up the phone and talking to people, which is quite important when you're a recruitment consultant. But then was offered this job with children with autism. And so quit my job within recruitment and started working with a delightful 5-year-old who was very verbal and needed to work on his social skills, and a non-verbal 4-year-old with quite problematic aggressive behaviors. So 2 very different roles. And I didn't fall in love with it initially. I fell in love with the families and the children themselves, but the job in and of itself was hard work. And so it took many, many months. And in the UK, I'd say ABA is quite different to the US. We do not really have RBTs. I think in the UK, I would guess there's less than 100 RBTs. And the training process when you first go into ABA is just very different. So it's very hands-on. It's I'll show you and then you do by yourself, and I'll come and see you once a month. And it's just very different. And we're trying to get it better regulated through the UK SBA and whatnot. So it took a long time for me to start to see the science of what we were doing and how it would help these children. And once I did, that was what sold me on ABA, because then it wasn't just helping, but knowing if it was working, it was helping and seeing very clearly if it was working or not working, and then change whatever we were doing. I've gone off on a long tangent. How did I get into ABA? So yes, and then carried on working with ABA for autism, and I've been doing that for 12 years. So again, I actually worked in ABA and started doing more supervisory roles after many years, and working in a supervisory and even a consultant position before anyone suggested to me, maybe you should go and study for your boards and go and get your BCBA. And so I did that almost years after being in the field. So I only passed my boards in 2017. But that's where I am now.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of us really have stumbled onto ABA indirectly. And it really is this new field where we're still getting people who don't know what it is and explaining it. And I'm sure we have listeners who are still trying to figure out what it is and learning about it, which is what we're doing. That the point of our podcast is to share ABA and help people learn about it. But we've both stumbled upon it.
Totally.
So in terms of behavior analyticals, like what are your current goals that you have for your health, your fitness? What are the goals that you are currently working on? I know we talk a lot about the beginning of our episodes, how we've been behaving ourselves, but what are kind of your main overarching goals that you are focused on right now, either in health and fitness or in your life?
I think it's important to say here my goal is not to give up ABA for autism. I think I will always in some capacity work within that field. So my goal within that area is to just continue to be and strive to become the best BCBA I can be for my clients, in whatever capacity that might be. So at the moment, like I said, I think last podcast, I just went on some training about sex and sexuality because I've been working this field now for, excuse me, 12 years. A lot of the clients I started with when they were younger are now starting to hit teenage years. So now learning more about puberty and sexuality and how to support them through that with proper supervision and training and whatnot. So that's that. Within health and fitness, what we're doing here. So showing the general population how behavior analysis is just common sense, but the science of common sense, and how they can apply it to their own lives to become the happiest, healthiest versions of themselves, like we say in our strapline. Long term, I'm kind of tossing up in my mind at the moment. I think I would quite like to go back to university to study nutrition properly. So at the moment, I have my precision nutrition level 1, which is great. And I only advise clients within my kind of scope of practice, my area of competence. But eventually going back to either do an MSc or a PhD, probably first MSc and then PhD in nutrition or dietetics. But that's a huge undertaking. And it's a big financial undertaking that right now, in the midst of a pandemic, I didn't feel this September was quite the right time to do it. We start all of our university years in September. So
yeah,
this September didn't quite feel right, but eventually I would like to do that and pair the two together. So as far as I have researched, and I hope a listener might come and tell me differently, in the UK, there isn't a university that majors in behavior analysis and also has a great school of nutrition or dietetics. So we only have, I think, 4 primary universities within the UK that have behavior analytic courses, and none of them major in nutrition or diet. So yeah, finding a way that could, ideally, eventually I would like to go and do research into how behavior analysis can help our current health crisis around the world.
I look forward to that. I know you will one day, but I look forward to it.
It's high in the sky now, but I have goals.
It's something that's so needed. We need so much more of this in all realms, and it's starting to evolve and grow, but we need more of it. So look forward to it. Yeah. All right. So we've talked a lot about ABA in the background. Let's talk some fun things about you. And like we did on mine, we are going to play 2 truths and a lie. So what are your 2 truths and a lie?
I have to admit, I've had slight practice with this because this was one of the questions that my girls asked me on my hen party before my wedding. So some of these I've remembered from them, but only one side of my heart beats properly. I got to the final auditions of Great British Bake Off, but never got on to... Do you have the Great British Bake Off in the US?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
My favorite, as you can imagine. So I got to final auditions of Great British Bake Off, but never got onto a proper series. And whilst skydiving, in the middle of a skydive, managed to break somebody else's leg. So only one side of my heart beats properly. I got to the final auditions of Great British Bake Off, but never onto a series. And I broke someone else's leg while skydiving.
Oh my goodness. These are tough. I want to say that you hurt somebody somewhere skydiving, but it wasn't their leg. So then that's the lie. It's not the lie. You did.
I broke somebody's leg while skydiving.
How?
It was a tandem jump and it was really windy and everything was perfect that day. Like, it was a perfect jump. We came down, it was beautiful. We landed, she was cheering in my ear, and then there was a huge gust of wind behind us that yanked the chute backwards, and we roly-polied over each other, and my full weight went onto her bent leg and it just snapped in half, and I felt it beneath me, and she was screaming whilst we were being pulled with the chute. And the poor woman was so nice about it. After the ambulance had come and she had stopped screaming, she apologized for me for having a bad dive with her.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, lady, you do not need to apologize.
No. Oh my goodness.
So yeah. So I have never auditioned for the Great British Bake Off because I'm a perfectionist and I couldn't deal with the rejection. And only one side of my heart beats properly, but it's something that I was born with. I didn't find out about until I was in my mid-20s. And you've seen how much exercise I do. It clearly doesn't limit me. So there we are. Yeah.
I have a VSD in my heart. So we both have.
What does that mean?
Little heart thing. So it's a ventricular septal defect. So I have a little hole in my heart. So it pumps differently. So doctors would always come in and listen because it sounds different. Does yours sound different on a stethoscope?
No, but mine looks different on an ECG. So if ever I go to A&E and they check my kind of ECG before going in, they get really panicked because it looks like I've had a heart attack.
But you haven't. Oh my goodness. So many cool things that we're learning. So what is we did some favorites with me. What is your favorite quote?
I don't know whether it's a quote so much. I think on my Instagram, what my Instagram started was almost as a accountability for myself. It was like my way of public posting. So sometimes the things I would post about or say on my social media, I can come across as quite blunt and quite stern and strict. So things like, you can't be sad about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do, or like, you can do this and that and the other. I'm very like stern and strict. And actually that's not me at all. That's me being harsh on myself, but not on other people. And so really the ideal, or the quote per se, that I like the best is that everyone deserves to be proud of themselves and feel their best selves. That's not to say you get to wrap yourself up in cotton wool and eat cookies all day on the sofa, but you deserve to feel proud, and you deserve to feel like you're the best version of yourself, and you deserve to value yourself above all else.
I love that. That's so awesome. It's so funny because I am so nice on Instagram to other people, and like kind of a little stern, but not that much. But with my coaching, I'm like, nope, you got to do this. And I'm a nice person, but I'm real. But it's almost the opposite of how we kind of come off in our posts. Yeah. So, but it's interesting. Yeah. I like that you deserve to be proud of yourself. And many women don't think that. So
or
continue to spread that.
First. Yeah. Like they don't feel like they deserve to look after themselves. And certainly from like, my parents are very Christian and come from kind of a church background, and like, it's all about, you know, caring for other people and community service. And like, I just keep having to remind different people, not necessarily my parents, but other people, of like, no, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, if you don't love yourself, what are you doing about your neighbor? Like, love yourself first before you can love on everyone else, because the way that you're treating yourself is not how I'd expect you to treat a neighbor either.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's so common. So keep spreading that. I love it. What are some of your other favorites?
Peanut butter.
Chunky or smooth?
No, it's not possible. So I think I've posted about this before. At the moment, I think we have 5 different types of peanut butter in the house. So there's runny smooth and like spreadable thick smooth. There's runny crunchy, and there's thicker crunchy. There's like, we have a maple flavored crunchy. Jim has do you have Marmite or Vegemite? Bothering?
No.
Oh,
but I've heard of it.
It's like, I don't know why it's mixed with peanut butter. It's essentially some kind of meat paste. That's disgusting. No, it's not. That's not true. It's made from brewer's yeast, so it's like this dark, thick, meaty flavored spread, yeasty spread. So we have that mixed with peanut butter. Yeah, that you can't choose between peanut butters, and they're different for different reasons. Like if you're having hot toast, then it has to be thick and crunchy. But if you're drizzling on yogurt, then it has to be runny and smooth. And yes, I like peanut butter quite a lot.
I do too. So, but I am a smooth only. So. No crunchy.
Interesting.
So this whole concept of all these crunchy things, very interesting. But I remember your post about the cabinet full of peanut butter jars.
Yeah, and like, we don't mess around with like 200 gram jars. They come in kilogram tubs.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of your other favorites? Favorite music?
R&B, embarrassingly, or anything that a 21-year-old girl would like. So I'm actually in my mid-30s. I really should get over my love of Taylor Swift, but it's not.
Oh no, never. Don't ever. then we really can't be friends.
So yeah, if I can sing karaoke to it, then it's probably either Shake My backside to it or sing to it.
Mm.
I was classically trained as a child, so years of singing lessons and singing all sorts, from opera to jazz to everything in between. So I have like a love for the classical and all sorts of different styles. But yeah, embarrassingly, R&B and Taylor Swift.
I love it. I love it. It's awesome. Anything else? What else should everyone kind of know about you? What haven't we touched on?
I know. What else?
Do you prefer cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs.
Good.
Yeah. I'm quite heavily, Jim and I are both quite heavily allergic to cats. So
Okay, that would
be a cat household. And we would also, like you were saying in the last podcast, we have big plans to get a dog, but we have to move house first because both of our neighbors, we own this house. We could have a dog here, but both of our neighbors have at least 2 dogs each and they don't walk them. So they bark all day long. And I think it would make a puppy just a bit too sad. So our house is on the market currently. We're hoping to move sometime next year and then it will be time for a puppy.
It's exciting. What kind?
We're thinking a black Labrador.
Nice.
But we're also quite keen on maybe looking for a rescue. So who knows what the breed will be.
Good. That's exciting. You guys have big plans coming. So
yeah, we like doing kind of long walks, as you see from my Instagram, but at the weekend, like long walks. So it couldn't be something small like a poodle or a dachshund because it would have to be able to keep up with us.
Yeah. Needs to have good walking legs for you guys, especially. Good. Anything else that we have missed, haven't touched on that anyone should know, or how they can find you?
If I could do shameless plugging, the way that podcasts get heard about and get popular and get big is by people sharing them. So if you have liked learning about me and Emily, we're nice people. I know sometimes I come across as quite sassy on my Instagram. I'm really not that sassy. I'm just sassy to myself. I would be very kind to you. But if you like the podcast, if you think any of it would be helpful for your friends, for your family, for your colleagues, please share it. Please, I know it can be quite hard through the Apple podcast app, and it can be quite tricky to work out through other apps of how to leave a review, but it makes a big difference in our visibility. So please give us a review. Give us some feedback. If there's something that you don't like, we're all up for hearing that as well. It doesn't have to be a 5-star review, but if you fancy giving that, that would be lovely. Get in touch with us. We are setting up a Mighty Network, which actually, do you want to explain to people what a Mighty Network is? Because I wasn't sure of this.
Sure. So it's very similar to what a Facebook group is. You can come in, post things. We have polls and everything. It's just set up in an external app. So you follow the link that we've got in the show notes and it'll take you to it. You can sign up without having to do any Facebook thing or pay anything. It's completely free. What we're going to have in there is access to all the resources that we have talked about on the episodes. And there's going to be different courses embedded within that Facebook or Mighty Network group. But it's something that we can't really put into a Facebook group. So we'll have that set up as well. But this just allows to connect and post and share. And there's different polls and fun things that we have in there. We can also chat with you guys in there, and it has direct messaging and chatting in there, so we can connect even deeper in that, and you can connect with other listeners. So Joe is from London, I am from Boston, so we're kind of bringing these two worlds together in a world that currently we can't all be together. So it's a really cool way to connect and learn from other people, post your goals, hold yourself accountable. If you're not currently coaching with Joe and I, you can connect and still get that kind of level of information from us and kind of directly contact us in that way. So it's completely free to join and hang out with us and get to know us a little bit more.
And a level of group supports, like group accountability, is huge. And in general, behavior analysts are really lovely people. So it would be a nice kind of safe group coaching element.
Yeah, we don't bite. We promise.
Not hard. If you want to find more from Emily personally, her Instagram is at emily.a.mccrae. My Instagram is at the Behavior Lady, and behavior is spelt with a U because I'm British. And at some point, I wish we would just agree on one spelling. And then our Instagram is at behaveyourselfpod.
Wonderful. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either Joe or I. We'd be happy to answer them, or send us an email at behaveyourselfpod@gmail.com. I got that right this time. So we hope you guys enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about us. We can always expand and do more of these if you guys have more questions for us, but we are also going to do an episode in 2 weeks of, any questions that you guys have. So please send them in. They will be asked anonymously on the episode. So don't worry about anybody hearing your question. I'm sure if you have it, other people have it. So feel free to reach out and ask us.
For sure. A quick disclaimer, we are both behavior analysts and qualified in our respective fields, including professional peanut butter tasting. But this podcast is for education and information sharing only and shouldn't be taken as personal, medical, or behavioral advice or services.
Wonderful. We'll see you guys next week.
What is next week? Sorry, that's totally
we didn't even do it. Next week is how to stay sane on Christmas Day. Well, that's a tongue twister, but during these holidays, how are we kind of keeping calm and sticking to our goals and sticking to what our values are? So wonderful.
See you next week.
Bye.